and having to do presentations, the one thing that we always learned was the technology will always let you down. Well, it's done it to me again. Anyway, originally I thought I'd do this demonstration with PowerPoint, and I found that while I was doing that, it was getting very, very difficult. So I decided to try making it into a video. So I've struggled through and made a video. So that's what you're going to see. It's got warts and all in it, so bear with me. As I get better at it, maybe the videos will get better. The turning won't change. Anyway, I need now to share screen, don't I?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, bloody hell. Perhaps it's on the other screen. Right, share screen. Hopefully it's there. No. Oh, for God's sake.
Tonight it's jinxed.
Voila.
Oh.
Oh, my God. We do want it a little bit larger than that.
We're getting it full
So
screen.
we're getting full screen.
Got it full screen, fine.
How do I get rid of that? I didn't have this problem earlier. How do I get it to large screen? Help me.
It is on large screen, Brian. Just press play. We'll see it.
Really?
Yep.
Okay. It's not a much bigger screen for me.
Yeah.
Right, so as it says there, Gordon Cookson of Middlesex Woodturner set the challenge if people could make a square box, and I took up the challenge. So I decided to make my design, and there it is. There's three elements: the box, the lid, and the finial.
I selected this piece of wood for the box because of the beautiful figure it's got. It's a piece of Turkish walnut, but as you can see, it is rather an odd shape. The first task is to make sure I've got a square blank from which to make the box. The problem with making this a square blank is I can plane the surface on one surface and I can plane the surface on another to get it square, but I can't put it through the thicknesser because it's too short. It just won't feed through properly without giving a big scurf on the tail end of the cut. So what I've done here is I've actually machined this long face on the planer, and I've machined this face by holding the planed face against the guide and running it through the planer. I'm not doing it with this planer on because it's very noisy and you won't be able to hear me. The next task is going to be to get it near the shape, and then I shall face it again on the planer to get the nice smooth surface. So to do that, I'm going to have to go to the bandsaw. I'll show you that shortly. So here I am at the bandsaw. I've set the width against the guide of 66, leaving me 1 millimetre to finish the planing. So I'm going to cut through at that, and then before I go right the way through, I'm just going to check that I've got the dimensions right. So taken a small sample cut, and I shall measure now what dimension I've got. (6520). It's not quite enough. I want a bit more than that. So I'll just have to adjust that a little bit more. $65.79. I think I'll give myself a little bit more to play off than that.
Don't worry, lads, it gets better.
Right, so here I am at the planer again. I've got the datum face against the guide. I've got one of the faces that I've already bandsawn against the cutter. I'm going to run that through. I've got the cut set at 0.5 millimeter. We'll see how we go. Right, now I'm going to do the last face. That's now got the blank to size. Now back on the bandsaw to cut the blanks to length. I can get 2 out of this piece of wood, so I've set the gauge to 75. The finished length is 70, so I've got a little bit to machine off. There we are, 2 blanks ready for turning. I've taken one of these square blanks that I prepared earlier, and I've mounted it in the lathe between the 4 jaws. I'm not worried about the marks that the jaws will be making on the outside of the blank, because that will be removed later. But from here, I will now start the turning, and I will start off by boring out the hole in the centre. So here it's starting off with a 30 mil portion of it. Now finish the depth of the boring. You've got to open up from 35 to 40 mil to bore using my parting tool. Just over 40, so I'm going to take more out. Might have to clean up the bottom there a little bit rough. I'll do that later. The next thing is I've got to now open up here to a recess for the lid. I'll have to go out to 45, so it's only a small bit by my 8 feet. Before I do that, I'll face this off. I haven't faced it yet, so I'll face that off first.
I've lost sound. Have you lost sound?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
Is it because it's in ×2 speed?
No, it shouldn't have been.
You press fast forward, which put it in ×2 speed.
Oh, right.
You see where it says ×2? So I think you pause. Yeah, press pause.
You're going backwards now
Yeah, press pause and
and play.
then press play again.
We've missed the important bit of the presentation. Right, I'm going to play it from there.
Finish
I've
that.
got no
then.
sound.
Now
What
I'm
about
going
you?
to turn it round,
That's it.
getting the chuck the other way round to finish the bottom.
Right, so we've done one end and now we're doing the other end.
Finished that first end. I'd sanded it through the grits and sealed it with shellac sanding sealer, and then polished that off, and then waxed it and polished it. I'm now going to do the same to the other end. Having now finished the bottom, complete with some decoration and polish and wax, I'm now going to take it off and go to the next stage. For the next stage, we need to change the chuck. Now the square turning chuck is made up of the chuck with faceplate jaws and this attachment that I've made so that the part can be held between the jaws. And I'll put that on the chuck, on the lathe, and set it up for the next bit of turning. Having now turned one face, I've sanded and sealed and wax polished and polished it. I'm going to have to move it round to the next face. So I'm just showing you the details of the fixture that you might not have got up before. And you can see that the back face of the faceplate is also right up against the square of the wood plank. So now I'm going to index it round 1/4 of a turn. And that means the flat face will still be against here. And I can do this for 3 faces, but the last face I'll have to be a little bit more careful because that curved face will be up against the faceplate and I'll be losing the location that I can get from the flatness of the side. But I'll index it round and have another go at the other face.
In fact, you no need to.
I found that the best chisel for doing that is a scraper because I've got more control over it. So here we go.
Can't really do it that quick.
I'll just check the shape that I've got, see how far I've got to go. I'm using these lines that I cut on the base as a guide for how deep to go. I need to go halfway between those 2 lines.
very difficult to get smooth. Now that's all four sides turned and polished, I'll take it out of the chuck and we'll move on to the next element of this box, and that's the lid. There is the box, four turned sides. Here's the finished box, just waiting for its lid. Just thought I'd show you that before I start doing the lid.
Lovely.
Get your mouth watering at the grain. It's beautiful, isn't it? Right, I'll get on with the lid now. Right, now to start the lid, I've already rough turned a blank of walnut, and I've drilled a hole up the centre to take the finial. I'm now going to turn a register so that I can turn the other side later on. So I'll just put some light on the job. And I'll now turn the 25mm diameter register. Right, the next thing to do is to turn the outside diameter to suit the box.
Is everything okay? I can't get full screen. Have full screen for that. Yeah.
Just on the size. Slight cut on there and we'll be there. Now I'm going to transfer the depth of the recess onto the blank. I'm going to rotate that at the now know where the edge is. Part that off there. That would be the best part of the lid. One lid. Now I've changed the jaws on the chuck. I've mounted the lid in the jaws. Now I'm going to clean up the face. On the parting face.
Are you sitting in the trunk?
Because I have hot rugs and water. Ooh, I'm trying to go get some mayo.
Just see how much I've got to take off. Not a lot. Just a smidgen to go. All I've got to do is put it up again and do the back. Right, I've mounted the lid in a split ring and put it in the chuck so that I can face the back face to get rid of that step. And a little bit of sanding sealer. And now all we're waiting for is the finial. Right, now the next part of this box is the finial, and I've chosen to make it out of pewter. I have for a long time wanted to play with pewter, but could never find a saucepan small enough to melt it. But I have finally found a saucepan. Yes, it's aluminium. I wanted stainless steel really. I was worried about the aluminium melting under the melting of the pewter, but when I looked at the melting points, aluminium's at 740 and pewter's at about 400. So I think we're fairly safe. In fact, I've tried it and I have been fairly safe. So the first thing I've got is some pewter, and I bought in France some some old pewter pieces, and one of them was a candlestick, and I've already melted that one down and made some blanks already. What you also need is a mould. So I've got a mould here, and I've got several different diameter holes in there to make round billets. I've also got some spaces on the back so I can put the last of the melt that I don't use into there for saving for next time. So that's a piece of oak split down the centre and bolted together with two bolts. I hold that in the vise when I want to pour, and I pour it in. I've got the 19mm diameter one, which is the one I want, which is the first one. So without more ado, I've actually lit the burner. I have an old camping burner that I had from when I was camping in tents, so I'm using that. So I put a blank of pewter in there, and hopefully that is going to melt. It has done before, so it should do this time. Then, after I've got the billet, I'm actually trying to make that finial at the top there, which, as you can see, is rather an odd shape. I just enjoy a challenge like that. I like the shape. So what I've got is a turning fixture that I've made, and that hole that goes in there is just an ordinary piece of wood. I've got a register there for loading in the chuck. I've got a hole drilled at an angle, and I've also got a screw here for locking the billet in place. So when I've cast the billet, I'm going to put it up there and lock it in place, ready for turning. That way I'll be able to turn the angled face on the end of the finial. Right, it's starting to melt. Might have to put a bit more in. Rather than have you wait for that, I'll turn off the video for the time being, and I'll come back when it's melted. Right, I'm back now. The pewter's all melted. I don't know whether you can see that in there. I'm now going to pour it into the mould. I'll just swivel the camera around so that you can see that. Right, so I'm going to pour it into that 19mm hole. That's that. Now all we've got to do is wait for it to solidify. So I'll do something else in the meantime. So I'll say cheerio for now. Right, back again. Now that the pewter's solidified, I can undo the sides of the mould. Pull it apart. Maybe with the use of a hammer. Hey presto, there it is. You can see the spike on the end where the auger bit went down into the mould. So now I shall use that in the fixture. I might have to take a few burrs off, get it in there, but it'll go in, and that will be ready for the turning fixture. We'll deal with that later. Right, now I've mounted the turning fixture for the finial in the chuck. I've loaded the billet of pewter into the holding fixture. I secured it with a wood screw through to stop that from moving. Now I've got to turn it.
I had terrible trouble turning that. Also, the technology let me down. I was getting a very intermittent recording, so I've had to scrap that bit of the recording, and you just have to imagine how I turned the diameter. I had to hold it in the 4-jaw chuck and to turn the outside. But I was suffering with blowholes in the end of the billet, and I wasn't very happy with that. I'll have to do something about that next time. But there we are. So that's the square box.
Very good.
Now,
Went
just
to a
to
lot of
tell you that it's not a myth, here they are.
beautiful. Well done. Went to a lot of work, a lot of trouble.
Only
Question.
took a week to show you 39 minutes of video.
Next question. What was the point of the register when you were turning the box? You said I'm turning a register.
What, turning the lid?
No, you're doing the box. Oh, doing the lid, yeah. Was that to gauge the depth of it or something?
No, so I could turn it round and hold it in the chuck.
Oh,
Because I needed to make sure I'd got the length of the lid right. And I could only do that by holding it up against the face and then machining the other face. I could have put it into the split ring, but I didn't think of that, and that's cost me an extra operation. But hey ho.
you went to a lot of trouble to make that box.
That's how you turn a square box.
Very good. Thank you very much. Really, really good.
I'm sorry about the presentation. It was
No, not at all. Brilliant.